Dang boy, here we go again. Boxing Source, and we see what's going on here with Ryan Garcia, and it looks like he's having issues with Golden Boy Promotions and Oscar De La Hoya once again. Now remember, at one point, they were going back and forth in reference to Ryan Garcia having an initial reluctance to fight Romero Duno in a fight card that featured Canelo Alvarez. I think that was for the Canelo Alvarez versus Sergey Kovalev fight that was in November of last year. But, things had basically worked themselves out for him to be part of that particular fight card. Now, after, having success with headlining a main event over in California, he was being lined up initially to face Jorge Linares in July before the whole COVID-19 pandemic thing came down. So he was not going to end up facing Jorge Linares in July, but they were going to see about setting him up to have a feature fight in July. But now, looks like, you have an issue there with Ryan Garcia, as they were talking about him not being part of the card that they were going to have for Golden Boy Promotions, right? And, it just seems like they had a comment, I think it was through Oscar De La Hoya, that was saying like, well, since, Ryan Garcia is not going to be, able to be in the bout on July 4th, as it shows in this tweet, says, due to Team King Ryan G, the handle for Ryan Garcia, due to the team's decision not to accept a July 4th bout, we will now return in late July with the future of boxing, Virgil Ortiz. More exciting details to follow. Wow. And what's funny is, like, you go on to Oscar De La Hoya's page and he has something tweeted below, well, retweeted by guest on the Boxing Source radio show, frequent guest Rick Glazer, talk about Ryan Garcia getting bad advice. But for Oscar De La Hoya to say there on Twitter that Ryan Garcia and his team is not accepting a bout there for July 4th, that they're gonna go ahead and have Virgil Ortiz be in a fight card. But the thing about it is that it's not just Oscar De La Hoya making that announcement. It's saying that Virgil Ortiz is the future of boxing. I think that kind of turned off Ryan Garcia, given that Garcia has kind of built built his following to be fairly large, so to speak. I mean, we've mentioned it in podcasts before that Ryan Garcia has like a lot of followers on Instagram, not nearly as much on Twitter, but Ryan Garcia did send a response in reference to that, and he said that you do realize that you're supposed to be my promoter, not hater, right? But this goes back to the same thing that we were going through last year when they were having some contract issues. So now here we go with this again. I'm kind of, interested to see what happens with this, given the fact that Golden Boy or Oscar De La Hoya, is the main promoter for Canelo Alvarez. And Canelo Alvarez is trained by the same guy that trains Ryan Garcia in Eddie Reynoso. So you see like a whole lot of back and forth between Oscar De La Hoya and Ryan Garcia, and also between Oscar De La Hoya and Canelo Alvarez. And here is another example of that. Social media wars going back and forth. And I know that, there is one particular person that frequently is on the podcast that says free Ryan Garcia. So this is another instance where he could state that case about freeing Ryan Garcia from the clutches of Golden Boy Promotions. Because if you're gonna go ahead and just say, you know what, since Ryan Garcia's like, nah, we ain't gonna have a fight there for July 4th weekend, we're gonna go ahead and have our Virgil Ortiz be featured. And on top of that, you know what? Virgil Ortiz is the future of boxing. That's bad. That is bad right there. So this is, going to be funny how this is handled over the next couple of days, because, like to say something like this in the afternoon, this afternoon, Oscar De La Hoya, man, it's oh goodness. It just makes for some more, cooler talk, so to speak, in the sport of boxing. But I think that with the amount of following, the high amount of followers that Ryan Garcia has, the way that he was able to have a very sizable crowd in his last fight, against, I think it was Fonseca, right? First round knockout. Like that's gonna make this, a whole lot messier. And I think, this kind of shows something in reference to Oscar De La Hoya not really being all too good as far as like handling fighters, or handling guys that could give a good amount of buzz for Golden Boy Promotions. So this is going to be interesting to see how this is going to turn out. We will be following social media for anything else that happens between Oscar De La Hoya and Ryan Garcia. Be sure to subscribe to the Boxing Source here on YouTube, and catch the Boxing Source radio show Sundays, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, live. We do have that showing on YouTube. And then you can catch the podcast on iTunes, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or whatever your favorite podcast app is. On that note, folks, I'm out. Peace.